Did you know that your oral exam consists of oral situations? Drop everything you're doing right now and let's dive into the best way to tackle these questions. Hola, hola, soy Senorita Spanish and welcome back to another video. In this video, it's all about paper 3, your oral exam. In paper 3, you will have a reading passage, oral situations, as well as the oral conversation. But this video is all about situations. Let's get started. Feel free to pause the video where necessary in order to prepare yourself a little better and give yourself more time to respond. After which, you can unpause and go ahead and look at my personal model answers. Make note of any new vocabulary that you might need in preparation for your exam. Remember that preparation is the key to success. The first question says, it is Christmas morning and your younger sister wants to know what gifts you received. A, what do you respond? And B, what comment does she make? For A, I said, recibí la ropa nueva, un teléfono celular y una computadora. I received new clothes, a cell phone, and a computer. And for B, the comment that my sister made was, "Qué suerte tienes!" How lucky you are. That's a great phrase to note. "Qué suerte tienes!" It can be used in your writing, in the oral exam, and it's good vocabulary to make note of. Anyway, vamos a continuar. The second situation of the day, you are unclear about something on an examination paper. A, what do you say to the invigilator? And B, what does the invigilator respond? Remember to go ahead and pause to think through your answers. For A, I said, no comprendo esta pregunta. And for B, I approached it with the subjunctive mood. Sugiero que la leas otra vez. I suggest that you read it another time. It is the morning of your Spanish CXC exam and you are leaving the house to go to school. A, what does your mother say to you? And B, what further comment does she make? For A, I simply said, Buena suerte, mija. Good luck, my daughter. And for B, Ve con Dios. Creo en ti. Go with God or I believe in you. Let's move on to the next question, which says, your teacher has asked you to suggest something that your class could display on open day. A, what do you suggest? And B, what reason do you give? Once you see suggestion, advice, recommendation, you should jump straight to the subjunctive mood because that will show off your Spanish grammar. But remember, for the subjunctive mood, you will use opposite endings. So ensure that you revise the subjunctive mood prior to your exam. Let's go ahead and look at the responses. For A, my suggestion was, sugiero que mostremos nuestros proyectos de arte. I suggest that we show our art projects. And the verb used was mostrar, to show. AR verb, now with an ER ending. And for B, the reason I gave was, todo el mundo sacó buenas notas. Everyone got good grades. Please note that for everyone or for other collective nouns like la familia, la clase, la gente, although it sounds like it's referring to a lot of people, it is a singular phrase, a singular word. And so it would take the el, ella, usted form of the verb and not the ellos, ellas, ustedes, third person plural. All right, so that is why it's sacó and not sacaron, because we're not saying they got good grades. We're saying everyone, a collective noun. All right, so it's very important that you note this in your writing as well. What did you put for this answer? Was it similar to mine? Please remember to take your notes and to just take what you need and practice them for the future. Your club has organized an activity and has run out of food. A. What does the president of the club suggest? Ding, ding, ding. And B. What do you offer to do? Once again, a suggestion. All right, so this is what I'm suggesting. Sugiero que compremos más comida inmediatamente. I suggest that we buy more food immediately. Once again, the verb was comprar, AR verb, but it now has an ER ending. And my offer for B says, yo voy al supermercado or iré al supermercado. I am going to the supermarket or I will go to the supermarket. The next situation says, it is the first day of your summer vacation and your friend calls to find out what you plan to do today. A. What do you respond? And B. What does your friend suggest that the two of you do instead? You realize how popular the suggestions are throughout oral situations. It's extremely popular. You can't outrun it. So you have to prepare for it. Okay, so for A, we're simply answering the question, stating our plans for the day. And for B, we're suggesting something else. Okay, let's see what I said. Yo voy a guardar cama. I am going to stay in bed. And for B, sugiero que vayamos a la playa juntos. I suggest that we go to the beach together. Sugiero que vayamos. I would like you to note that. It is very popular. I suggest that we go. Now, the verb here, vayamos, is from ir, and ir is irregular in the subjunctive. All right, so there's no opposite ending for you to think about. You just have to remember the irregularity and how it's conjugated. I suggest that we go. Sugiero que vayamos. Note it because it will come up somewhere, whether in your written situations, your oral situations, or even in your letter writing, your dialogue writing. The next situation, let's go. You are supposed to have your identification card in order to write an examination, but you have forgotten it. A. What request do you make of the invigilator? And B. What do you explain? Okay, so for A, the request I made was, ¿Puedo hacer una llamada urgente, por favor? Can I make an urgent phone call, please? And for B, my explanation was, Se me olvidó mi tarjeta de identificación. I forgot my ID card. Now, this phrase, se me olvidó, is very important. It is used when you're talking about forgetting something unintentionally. You accidentally, honestly forgot that thing. And so, the olvidar, which means to forget, is conjugated to match the item. All right? You're basically saying the item was forgotten by me unintentionally. And so that is why it is olvido and not olvide. The se also highlights the fact that it was accidental. You did not intend for this to happen. Se me olvidó, followed by whatever it is that you forgot. All right, let's move on. You have spent the night at your friend's house. A. What do you say to your friend's parents as you leave for home? And B. What does your friend's mother say to you? So for A, we're noting that we're speaking to multiple persons, the parents. So I said, mil gracias por su bienvenida. And the su here can mean your in terms of being polite or your in terms of being plural. And that's what we're doing right now. And the response that the mom makes is con gusto, my pleasure. Your friend has invited you to a cultural festival, but you are unable to go. A, what reason do you give? And B, what do you advise your friend to do? Here's another opportunity to use the subjunctive mood. For A, no puedo ir contigo porque estoy enferma. Simple reason, right? I cannot go with you because I am sick. And for B, we're using the subjunctive mood. Aconsejo que, I advise that. Aconsejo que tú grabes las presentaciones. I advise that you record the performances. So the verb grabes comes from grabar, to record. Once again, AR verb with now and ER ending. How are you doing so far? Let's move on to the next situation. You offer your cousin something you have prepared to eat. What do you say to your cousin, and what reason does your cousin give for refusing? Remember to pause the video as we go along to think and allow yourself to tackle the questions on your own. All right? But let's go ahead and see what I said. ¿Te gustaría probar este plato que he preparado? Would you like to try this meal or this dish that I have prepared? And for B, no gracias. No me gusta el pescado. No, thank you. I don't like the fish, or I don't like fish. Let's point out some grammar. So for A, you notice that I said he preparado. That is the present perfect tense. All right. And for B, it had said, what reason does your cousin give for refusing? So we have to refuse in our answer as well. So that is why I began it by saying, no, thank you. And then I gave my reason. All right. So please note that we have to pay attention to the little cues that we are given. You return home from a party very late and your parents are awake and waiting for you. A, what do you say as you enter? And B, what do you explain? So for A, I simply said, siento llegar tarde. I'm sorry for being late. And just to note, if you are stating what you are sorry for, you don't need lo siento. You just need siento or lamento followed by whatever it is you're sorry for in the infinitive. Because siento actually means I am sorry for. That means you don't even need to say por or para because you like to say for. It's not necessary. Siento followed by the infinitive. Siento llegar tarde. I'm sorry for arriving late. Okay? And for B, what do you explain? No podía conseguir un taxi. I couldn't get a taxi. Let's move on to the next situation. You need a favor from your brother. A, what request do you make? And B, what excuse does your brother give to you? Now, from we see request, we know that we're using the verb poder to be able to. And we're asking, can you? All right? Let's see my responses. For A, I said, ¿Puedes ayudarme con mis deberes? Can you help me with my homework? Now, this could be anything. It could be a chore or anything that you would like assistance with. For B, I said, no puedo ayudarte porque tengo una cita esta noche. I cannot help you because I have a date tonight. I used cita because CSEC loves that word. Don't ask me why. But una cita can mean an appointment or a date. And we need to know when it means which, depending on the context in which it's used. All right. But we have to note it, and it's great vocabulary that we will definitely need. Our next situation says, your brother misbehaved while your parents were out. What do you tell your parents? And B, what does your brother explain? Okay, for A, I said Pablo se portó mal toda la noche. Pablo misbehaved all night. The verb to behave is portarse or comportarse. It can be either one of them. And then we would add mal or bien to specify the type of behavior, if it was good behavior or bad behavior. So in this case, we're saying he behaved badly or he misbehaved all night. And the explanation is simply estaba aburrido. I was bored. Let's move on to the next question. A visitor stops you and asks for directions to a specific place. A, what does the visitor say to you? And B, what directions do you give to the visitor? For A, let's talk through this response, right? Before I show you what I did, as a way to guide you into thinking how I'd like you to think, right? For A, we're asking for direction. So we should be thinking, how do we ask, how do I get there? How do I get to this specific place? And for B, we're given directions. Directions are used given commands, and it's a visitor. Therefore, we don't know this person. We're going to use formal or polite commands. So, now that I have given you that information, let's think about your answer, give the video a pause, and try on your own before you look at my responses. Is that a deal? Okay, let's see what I said. To ask how does one get to, we say ¿Cómo se llega a? So, my specific place was the theater, and it's a masculine place, el teatro, so it becomes al. ¿Cómo se llega al teatro? If it was somewhere like the beach, it would remain ¿Cómo se llega a la playa? Okay? ¿Cómo se llega al teatro? How does one get to the theater? And these are the directions I gave. They are polite commands, which means that they're very similar to the present subjunctive where we switch the endings. So, suba esta calle y luego tome la primera derecha. Su destino estará al lado del cine. Let's unpack that response. So, we use subir, which means to go up the street. Subir was an IR ending verb, and it's now using an A because it's the opposite ending that we use when we're giving formal commands. And then tomar was our next verb. Tomar is an AR verb. Similarly, we're using an ER ending. So we have an E there to signify, to ensure that we're being polite. So go up this road and then take the first right. Your destination will be beside the cinema or the movie theater. All right, our next situation reads, your parents are going out and tell you one thing that you and your siblings should not do. What does your mother say? And B, what comment does your father make? Now, once you see should not do, that's a command. And in this case, it's a plural command because they're talking to both you and your siblings. All right, so you're given plural commands here. Plural commands use the opposite ending and they end with an N. Let's see what I'm talking about. For A, I said, no salgan de la casa. Don't leave the house. Now, salir is irregular in the command form. All right, so it's salga with an N to highlight the fact that we're using a plural command. No salgan de la casa. And for the comment that the father makes, I just added another command. You know, maybe he's also saying something that you shouldn't do. Compórtense bien. Okay, behave yourselves. or behave well? You misbehaved in class during the teacher's absence. A. What warning does your teacher give to you? And B. What do you promise to do? Warning and promising are also two communicative functions that we need to know, even in our writing. So, the more we see the same things being repeated, we need to ensure that we practice them and we have them for the exam. Okay, I cannot repeat this enough. So for warning, you're basically saying something like, if you don't do this, I will do that. And so we can use the C clause, right? And for B, promising, I promise, followed by the infinitive. Whatever it is that you promise to do will be in the infinitive. Pause the video and give yourselves a chance to try this on your own. Now let's see what I said. Si no te comportas bien, te castigaré. If you don't behave well, I will punish you. So for here, we're using the C clause. If you don't do something, a consequence will occur. And so for the first clause, I used the present tense followed by the future tense. If this doesn't happen presently, I will do this. And for B, yo prometo comportarme bien, profesora. I promise to behave myself, señorita or teacher. So here we see prometo followed by the infinitive of whatever it is that we're promising to do. And in case we don't know, the infinitive is the full form of the verb without it being broken down. All right, let's move on to another question. Your teacher has chosen a particular Spanish speaking country for this year's school trip. A. Express your disagreement with the situation. And B. Give a reason for your disagreement. Okay. To disagree, we say no estoy de acuerdo, which means I don't agree or I am not in agreement. Therefore, if we were saying I agree, it would simply be estoy de acuerdo. So for A, I said, no estoy de acuerdo con ir a Cuba este año. I am not in agreement with going to Cuba this year. And for B, I said, no me siento seguro o segura, if you're a girl, viajando a Cuba en este momento. I don't feel safe traveling to Cuba at this time. Our next situation reads, your parents have canceled the plans for the weekend. A. What alternative does your father suggest? Here we have another suggestion question. So we're jumping right to the present subjunctive. And for B, what do you say to express your disappointment? That's another word that CSEC expects you to know. How to say I am disappointed. Now, if we're stating I am disappointed that so, that is also an opportunity to use the subjunctive mood because we're stating how we feel about another situation, which is like a setup scenario for the subjunctive to be used. So in both parts, I'll be using the subjunctive. And I recommend that you do that as well. So pause the video, give yourself a try, and then look at what I said. Okay, vámonos. So for A, my suggestion was, yo sugiero que nos quedemos en casa en vez de viajar este fin de semana. Let's unpack that one. I suggest that we stay at home instead of traveling this weekend. So, as I said before, this is the present subjunctive mood being used. I use the verb quedarse, an AR reflexive verb. So, since it's AR ending originally, it now has an E ending. And we have nos because it's reflexive, so we need that reflexive pronoun there before the quedemos. I want to point out a vocabulary phrase here, en vez de, instead of, okay? And for B, estoy muy decepcionada de que ya no vayamos a la ciudad. I'm very disappointed that we are no longer going to the city. All right? Let's point out another word here. Ya. Ya no means no longer. and we put it before the verb that we're using. So in this case, we're no longer going. Ya no vayamos a la ciudad. So I am very disappointed that we are no longer going to the city. So we're using the subjunctive. We're using ya because it's something that we're no longer doing. We're showing off our vocabulary. Guess what? This can also be you. I'm doing this video so that you can be at your maximum potential. Okay? So let's get into it. Make your notes. Practice. You can do this. That was the final situation. I hope you did well and I hope you learned a lot today. Why don't you go ahead and watch this video one more time and ensure that you make all the notes that you need. Share this video with a friend, like, and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. Gracias por mirar. Adiós.